All right, let's do this. I don't know why I've been putting it off since February. But everything I have done so far has been not necessarily to avoid what I really want to do with the page. Because the truth of the matter is that I didn't even think that I was going to even last this long. I have mentioned, I even made a parody about it, that I am a storyteller. And typically, when I tell stories, I cater it to the person, my audience, the people I'm talking to, and stuff like that. And I've been actually struggling since the beginning with the YouTube page, not just to find my voice, but to find how I connect to literally a camera in front of me and not actually talking to real people, because people's reactions, even the comments they make during my story, affect the stories that I tell. I'm really a reactionary storyteller. It's usually what I use to keep people's attention, and a lot of the songs, and even a lot of the other videos that I've done have all been geared around what and how, and where the microphone is, where the microphone sits, to how much of the words I'm coming out. Am I speaking clearly? Is there enough lighting? All those things have been playing a role in pretty much every video. That's the reason why I probably watch my videos more than anything, is how can I improve upon that? But the truth of the matter is that I don't really want to be singing. I don't really want to have a scripted, these are the things that I say, because I think that it takes away from me being emotionally invested. And you don't really get to see how my brain is working, because for me, when stories, and it's one of the reasons why, even though I consider myself a writer, it's one of the reasons why you haven't seen, or I don't promote a lot of books that I've written. I've done a lot of writing. I have tons and tons and tons of stories that I have, and tons of basically stream of consciousness going. And usually when I get into like a writing tangent, I will basically just write furiously, really fast. I've written over 1,000 pages in 3 weeks. I mean, that in my opinion is extremely fast. The rewriting process of those 1,000 pages, I'm probably where most of my novels or novellas or things that I have, they're all in, pretty much everything's in rewriting hell. And will they ever even see the light of day? Probably not. But the one thing that I do, and I do extremely often, especially where people I think that are closer than acquaintances, maybe not necessarily friends, and of course definitely close friends, and obviously my family. And since I've been considering calling my subscribers my family, because you are, that puts you into that realm of where I should be able to be telling you stories. And that's pretty much my real gift. writing the parodies, the reason that the writing the parodies comes so natural to me is because that's what I do. That's all that I do. So before I actually begin with a story, I'm actually a little bit tired, so I don't even know how long. I might even just do the disclaimer and go on. I will probably put a disclaimer or something like what I'm just saying now. Maybe not at the bottom of this video, but at in the description of pretty much any video that I tell a story in. My goal, and I'll use any trick, dirty, otherwise, anything to have you believe what the story is. But in truth, any story that I tell is a complete work of fiction. Most of it comes from my mind. Some of it has no influence of my past. Nothing that is that's actually related to most of the stories that I tell don't even have any basis in reality whatsoever. And I find that even the truth and the facts, and when I tell historically accurate accounts of things that have happened in my life, my timelines don't match up. Sometimes that's because I got the facts mixed up in my head, and sometimes that it's just there were I've had days where 7 stories or 7 me talking about my history, working or whatever. I've held down 3 or 4 jobs at a time, so those things happened. And when I tell them, I'm only focusing on the relevant part of it. I'm not talking about all the things that go on in the back times. I'm not talking about me walking for miles because I didn't have a car. I don't talk about all that time. There's time spans missing. There's times, there's things that are happening all at once. All that stuff that happened. So very early on, I don't even delve into things that are actually true. The only true thing is how I was feeling, and the past me, without that wasn't telling a story. Those feelings are not the same as the feelings that I have when I'm retelling the story. So what you're getting is the feelings I have, how I feel about a story, how I feel about that. That's probably the only true mark of it. And the stories take on a life of their own. So they, as the stories have changed and devolved, the facts and relevancy and things like that no longer exist. But my goal had always been to make it believable, to make it fit, and to have it coincide with also how riveted my audience is. If an audience doesn't believe me, I usually go even more fantastic. I usually delve. The less you believe, the more I delve into the more fantastical things. And the problem is that when I get delve into the fantastical things, that's usually where the truth lies. And don't delve into what the story aspect of it is, because if I have to switch gears, I'll switch gears with, sometimes using the actual facts and the truth and stuff like that, because you don't believe me. So I want you to, however you see it. If you believe the story, that's great. But this is really a disclaimer about, I will protect real people, places, things. I might use real places and things sometimes because if you have it works for the believability. If you have an actual tangible thing that is actually in real life that I'll use that for my story. But doesn't make what I'm saying any more or even less true. But for the safety sake, everything is a work of fiction. Nothing is based on real life. It's not based on my real life, the actual things that happen. It's just like me being a YouTuber. What you were seeing is the you were seeing the Sean that I want to put out to the world. Not you're not seeing the real me. It's probably very close, but you'll probably never see the actual Sean. I am guarded. I do have secrets. I do have things that I don't even discuss. And usually when I'm backed up against the wall, I tell a story. And to be on the safe side of when I tell the story, everything is a lie. There is no truth to be seen, and that's just to be, very clear that if you push comes to shove, if I'm confronted about it, I will bring up this disclaimer. It's the reason why I said I'll probably put it in the description below. There's no truth to it whatsoever, but I will also at the same time, while telling a story, use everything, including the truth, to get you to believe my story. Even if I'm using facts and the truth, it doesn't make the story any less a lie. So take that for what it is. That's my disclaimer. Instead of starting at the beginning, my crazy birth and my horrific childhood and things that traumatized me, which I've told those stories a million times, and I probably, if I continue to do storytelling segments, they will probably be unscripted like we're doing right now. But if I'm doing those things, I might cut those stories out and give them their own space. For this, like I said, I'm a little bit tired, so I don't, I've actually told stories half asleep, so I don't think it makes much of a difference if I'm telling a story tired or if I'm telling a story, wide awake and well rested. And this, I don't think that it changes how the story is being told. The thing that I'm going to try to discover a good balance of is how I present the stories, because like I said, I don't have an audience, so I'm literally there's a blank. I have a blank with my storytelling, and it's probably one of the reasons why I've been like begging for people to, chat me up and do things, because I would feed off of the comments that people made to tell, it can stream into a different story. We can tumble along. But this is, unlike the singing, unlike a few of the things that I've done, storytelling is my strength. Creating is my strength. Imagination is my strength. Yes, they play a role into like my singing. They definitely play a role into writing the parodies. Those things play a role into the covers that I chose before writing the parodies up. And like I said, it what started out as covers, evolved into writing the parodies. And I could have continued on doing that forever, but I definitely think that my singing has been holding back the potential of what those songs could be. The copyright claims do too, and not as much. It means nothing to me at this point. And if anything is to be believed, yes, people go back and look at past videos and things like that, but nobody's delving all the way back to the beginning. Nobody's going all the way back to the thing, even though my playlists start at the beginning and work their way down. People really aren't even going through the playlist. It seems that they're going directly to the videos, but nobody's going back to the beginning, watching the first videos again. Those don't get much of a hit. Anything that's really getting looked at or promoted by YouTube, because 90% of my views comes not from subscribers, comes from YouTube itself. So you can use that for what it is. Those 90%, they're, like I said, YouTube seems to be promoting more recent videos, and I think that there's a time limit of how long they promote my videos for before they just completely drop it, because the stuff that I did, back in February, I started this January 31st. So the stuff that I did back then doesn't even get looked at anymore. Okay, so disclaimer out of the way. I don't know if I will do a disclaimer, so you guys can see how I change my disclaimers each time, because that's exactly how my storytelling goes. It's not going to be the same thing, and we are definitely on. I am not scripted. I don't even know. I'm going to have to write and create what the disclaimer is, and pretty much copy and paste it if I'm going to keep it. Just like the rules in loud noises. That's what I use that for. The rules were actually my disclaimer, like, this is what to expect from this song. It wasn't rules to how to view it. I'm not telling anybody, I wouldn't tell anybody, what's the correct way to watch, my video or any video on YouTube. There is no correct way. It's your way. It's your time. Spend it the way you want to spend it. I'm 18 minutes in right now, and I just got through the disclaimer, and more likely than not, most of my viewers haven't even made it to this point in my video. So probably, I'm probably, slowly slipping down that slope of nobody actually watching. There's very few people other than myself. I'm probably the only person that I know of that actually watches all my videos from the beginning all the way to the end. But right now, most people are probably not even watching it at 18 minutes. 18 minutes is a big ask for people. So, but this is where I'm going to put the good stuff. So their loss, the stupid troll that's still going around and doing this. I mean, he doesn't even last 10 seconds. I mean, 10 seconds of that person's time would be a huge ask of me to earn that dislike, to make earning that dislike that they give me worthwhile. For the most part, it's about 2 seconds. They stick around, so they stick around long enough to have the video turn on so they can dislike it, and then they shut me off or go someplace else. I don't know where they go, but they definitely end the video around 2 seconds. Sometimes 4 seconds. I've had a few 4-second. And in where loud noises are, which is the one that they usually get, The 4 seconds usually last. Doesn't even get me to click on have the music play. So they don't even, unless they read, which I doubt that they actually read what the video's title is, which is the reason why I put it all in the title, because I figured that hopefully they actually see the title of what Loud Noises is, and they can see that it's a parody and what it's a parody of. And that's probably so when they get to the music, because they're not listening to the music either. And I've said this a million times, and I don't really need to keep saying it, but I'm probably going to say it a million more times. So, it is what it is. I maybe I'm nervous, and that's the reason why I haven't just jumped right into the story. One of the stories is because I think that this kind of relates to what I'm talking about, especially how I was not connected to people directly, and it's also one of the reasons why I don't like talking on the phone. I'm not, with the exception of a few people in my life, and two especially, and then the rest are just basically work related. But with the exception of two people in my life, I don't really talk on the phone at all. And then you get into texting, and texting for me is actually even worse. It's where you get into like where it's actually worse. I don't like texting. I hate. I dislike texting even more than talking. I'd rather talk on the phone and hear somebody's voice than text and be waiting for a response. In fact, I freaking hate texting. Definitely more than I hate talking on the phone. I'd rather talk on the phone. You'd think that I would like Zoom calls and everything like that, but I don't even like Zoom calls because there's still not there's that connection, the way people are breathing. There's a lot of things that get masked. Even I'm going to mask things unintentionally in this video that you don't see. You don't see I'm presenting a version of me that doesn't mumble. I'm presenting a version of me that actually I normally don't think about what the next statement is that's coming out of my mouth, and that's why you get a lot of the uhs and and maybe and like I say that a million times in videos, and I even when I see myself saying those things, I'm like, why? And what it is that I don't have the response back, so that I know where, it's like you have a million different possibilities that I can go with what I'm saying, and because I don't have that interaction with people, I don't have that how that's going to work. Uh, see, I've actually, what makes it even worse is I've actually worked on trying to get that out of my speech pattern, and it's not working. I keep doing it. Like I said, I think it's because I keep waiting for a response, because that somebody even talking about nonsense or unrelated things to what I'm saying, it'll affect what my reaction is. It also gives me time to think of things, whether I like to think that I'm listening to what they have to say and I'm giving it its jurisprudence, but truth of the matter is I'm probably trying to figure out what are the best words that I can now say that will re-grab them, because I'm trying to grip their attention. And they're talking or interrupting or whatever thing is allowing me time to come up with what my next response is. And it's usually a reaction to what they're telling me. And that's, pretty much how I converse with everybody. And some of them don't know is that for the most part, they're in a story. And how the story is created comes from that interaction. It's a brand new story. It might be the same story, and I probably have told it a million times to a million different people, or even to a crowd of people. I'm not a big person on crowds because, again, crowds easily interrupt. Crowds do talk amongst themselves. And I'm always thinking of what can I say next that will grip the attention of everybody that I'm talking to. And I don't have stage fright. I don't have any of that, I don't get any of that craziness that a lot of people have. And I wish I could understand it because I don't. And I have something completely different when I'm talking to a crowd of people. And it's literally the fact that I know that there's that there could be 200 people in the room and one person, one out of 200, one person. If I lose that person's attention, all I want is to get it back. And it's kind of awful. I actually wish I didn't do that because that person obviously doesn't matter. That person is obviously shouldn't even be there. And why bother? Why would I even, have them, I even hate this expression, but I'm going to say it now. Why would I have them rent that space in my head when they're basically broke emotionally? It's, they basically lost it. My head is shiny. But that person should not matter. I've 199 other people that I have their attention, but that one person, and that's why I don't like it. 5 or 6, I can definitely hold their attention. Maybe 10, and I think I've actually held attention with storytelling, and definitely the more fantastic because it is literally an interjection the entire time of attention grabbing, attention keeping. And I don't think that makes for good storytelling. My optimal number of people to be talking to at once would be probably about 3 or 4. One-on-one is gold for me, but I think that if I had to tell the story once, and sometimes I wish I was recording the stories that I tell so that I can actually play that back. So here I am recording a story, but one of the problems that I've had with that is that people who hear the recording, the story will be different because their perspective I can't cater to. And I love storytelling. I love the reactions. I love the emotional investment. If I had to say that that's my extroverted side, that is my extroverted side. But the power, using the Myers-Briggs definition of introvert and extrovert, the power dynamic comes from me. It definitely is taxing on me. I don't know what my limit is as far as utilizing my power. I do know that I have told stories and I've loved it and I've had a great time, and I know that I've also been extremely exhausted from it. I usually don't get charged up with a story. There are things that charge me up, especially like when things fit together, and I will keep going. But it's not that I'm gaining more energy. It's just I have momentum, and the more momentum I get, the longer I will basically crash from it. Um, and I'm a human being. At least I think I am. But being fragile like that is something that it happens. I push through, and I probably push too far when that happens, and that's how that works. So yeah, let's get into the story. This story takes place. I'm going to use my life, and I'm going to connect it to other stories, so that if you're putting it all together, this is where this piece of the puzzle fits in. I had quit high school. I had decided to tour with the Grateful Dead, um, and I saved up a lot of money working as first as a busboy and then later as a cook, a line cook. And I basically saved up everything that I possibly could. I had to buy a car, had to buy gas. I wasn't paying rent at the time, but I bought my things. I bought things that I felt were valuable to me and needed. Um, but everything else, I saved. I saved every last dime um, that I made, and there were definitely people in my life who saw that savings and thought it was theirs. And when I toured with the Dead, that assessment of me was probably closer to correct, because I burned through 3 years of literally just not buying garbage junk. I didn't collect anything. I know I talk about like my comic book collection and stuff like that, but I wasn't really buying comic books at the time. I was picking up valuable comic books, but only on rare occasions would I spend money. I was very tight and very frugal with how I spent money until I toured with the Dead. Then the money I just bled right through it. And I saved up 3 years of working and I was actually making pretty decent money as a cook. And what even scares me sometimes is that some of my paychecks I earn now are less than the paychecks that I was earning as a line cook. 30, 32, 33 years ago. And that scares me that happened. But yeah, this takes place after I left, being on tour. More of a I'm acting like I was on tour, like I was singing or something like that. And I always say that I toured with the Dead. Now, the Dead were touring, and I was basically just along for the ride. And and I did not enjoy any of it. But the result of it, I was doing tattoos and drawing flash for a tattoo artist, and I think I did. People. There might still be some people out there that actually still have the tattoos that I made, and if anybody who has seen this got a tattoo at a Grateful Dead concert, sorry if you got an infection from it, but anybody got a tattoo of it, yeah, I was basically the kid a kid, basically somebody who looked like they were 12 years old did your tattoo. That was probably me. Because I think that even though I was 18 years old at the time, I think I looked like I was 12. Um, I can't tell you how many times when I was on my own that somebody said, to me, "Are your parents here? Think you should call your parents. Did you run away?" And maybe maybe you run away. Did you run away? Wasn't um, far from what actually was going on, but that was happening. But all that craziness was going on at the time, and we were broke. I wasn't making any money doing tattoos, but I did get food, did get things to drink, like especially water. Very important. And sometimes the tattoos got us places to stay, places to sleep, because we were broke as broke, as broke could be. And sometimes it got us tickets into the concerts, and sometimes we used the money. I always talk about like how I was with the Dead, touring with the Dead, and I'm more times than not I didn't even make it inside to see the concert itself. We've sometimes scalped out the tickets that we had, uh, especially when it was general seating. Sometimes we would scalp those out, and for money, because we were pretty destitute, and the money that I saved up 3 years working as a line cook was gone. So I was presented, where I'm getting at is after I was done with all that, I was presented with an opportunity, and this is before I did make it to Florida, but this is before I worked in Orlando, and I don't know if I can actually say where I worked in Orlando, but in Orlando at a fairly famous place. So there's a lot of famous places in Orlando, but this is pretty well known in Orlando that I was working at for a short period of time. But before I was there, I needed to have money, and I was approached, and at first I thought it was just a regular interview to do tarot card readings over the phone. And like as you know, I don't like talking on the phone because I lose that interpersonal connection with the people on the phone. The thing about working on the phone is that you have to literally always be on. And I didn't enjoy doing this job all that much because of those two factors. Now they said I was pretty good at it, and I did make a lot of money doing it. But one of the gimmicks, because everything's it's definitely a grift. Definitely, then there's definitely a con. I do not possess any psychic, and if I did, I didn't rely on it. I never would have passed the Houdini challenge. I was told that I should do the Houdini challenge, but I think that anybody who had any modicum of sense at the time would have figured me out, and figuring me out would have been very bad because I was also working as a government agency to weed out and gather information about people. I think, to be used as evidence against them later on down the road. But I did the con. It's con. Unlike cold calling, they call me, so that's always a nice plus. Most of them at first were expecting a female voice, and somehow got stuck with me. Maybe I was just caught in the rotation at the time, but quickly. And I think that I don't think that I think that the whole thing was a government front. So whether it was or not, that doesn't really matter. But I was definitely being used that way. They were actually feeding me information about the people calling, all the information they had, and they were gathering more information as people talk. And some people had done some really bad things. So I had never been called to testify, and I've never been, exposed in this manner. So I don't know if it's still going on or not. It could be. Technology has definitely improved, and definitely they could easily have been utilizing that tool. Even they could be utilizing it today. That's why I can't tell you the government agency. I have told, depending on the conversations that I've had, like I said, I've told this story a million times. So, and I definitely drop names and things and stuff like that, but I don't know for this whether it is permissible or allowed or what, yeah, the DMCA, whatever might happen if that's happening. So I'm going to play it safe. Maybe in future videos I will, if you guess it, I will definitely say you guessed right and about it. But somehow I'm good at it. I don't, like I said, I don't possess any psychic abilities that I know of, and I definitely did not use any type of clairvoyance, any type of connection to the spirit realm. When I first started doing it, I pretended I had tarot cards, and I was actually using just a regular deck of playing cards. With the jokers and stuff like that, and base cards became named cards and not what their suit was, and that is literally how I worked. I could have drawn any card, and I can't tell you how many cups, because sometimes I would get, like a spade. A spade I usually used as swords, but if I wanted it to be a cup, I would just, whatever number, let's say four spades. I drew that, and if if the sword didn't fit the narrative that I was actually using on the people, I would probably end up saying it's a cup. Very big on cups. I don't know why. I don't know why I was always, drawing cups, but it was cups. So in my opinion, it's the safer bet. Swords tended to be more gruesome, and again, if I needed a sword, I would the suit would change, to being a spade every single time. It's basically, it was based on need. Things that we wanted to talk about, things that I saw in pretty much the readout that they gave me in the early days of email. And I thought I was something else. I had a computer, very expensive computer at the time. And I don't think that computer was more powerful than the computers that they used to put a man on the moon. But compared to today, this was still back when operating systems fit on a floppy disk or several floppy disks. But this is before CD readers or DVD readers. I say, I'm sorry, I'm tired. But yeah, working for the government back then also came with its downside, and it was not fun at all. Hated working for them. But the one thing that I thought was very interesting is I called myself, and I got a complete printout of who this government agency thought I was. And that person I used as a the the it was, and just so you know, they got it all wrong. Wasn't very long, wasn't a lot to it, and they pretty much got everything wrong, from my birthday to the spelling of my name to everything. And it's how I ended up picking up aliases, because it started with what they thought of me, and I used what they thought of me to create something. And this is where I was getting before about how I tell story. I utilized what this agency thought of me, and created that person. Not the reverse. No denial of any of the information that I was given. In fact, I owned the information as much as that information wasn't true. And before I left doing that thing, I also realized that I could do anything, and I would still be that person. That person could always exist. Never experimented with drugs. Never, all the crazy things. They had me as a positive personality and stuff like that, and I literally created that. I became that. And the insanity that ensued later on down the road, I would always fall back on that. And I sometimes wish I did work for a psychic hotline again so that I could actually see where I'm at. But I did think it was funny that they sent me a readout based on, I'm calling myself from my non-business line, because this is back before cell phones and stuff like that, and I had to stay at home all the time, and I had two landlines. I had my business landline and I had my actual home phone number, and I actually called from my home number. So the one that's in my name, and the printout that I got was just so wrong. And I even thought, like, how many times have I gotten somebody on the phone and looked at this information, and most of the time I just disregarded it. It's and I think I doubly did so when I found out how they what they thought of me. And it's a pretty scary thing when, like, I didn't think of it at the time, but years down the road I realized, like, that their memory of me probably doesn't even exist at all. And if somebody does find any record of me, it would be that piece of paper, because that's who I was. And that person is pretty amazing, in my opinion. Who I was in their minds, or they're created, because that's what it was. It's just fabrication. And like I said, I just as I continued on, I'm trying to. I don't know if I beforehand, because I didn't and just so you know, I did it for a quick cash grab before I left. But the and grabbing cash is definitely what I did. That's all I did it for. I didn't do it. I didn't do it to put people behind bars, and I didn't do it because nor did I care whether they did get arrested or whether they could have made a case against people. It meant so little to me. Only the money meant something to me. But yeah, that was always kind of an interesting thing that happened, and I realized, like, that if somebody went back and pulled my file, one, they'd have to pull my file under a different. Like I said, they got my name wrong. My name is not that name, and there was a whole. I know that, like, somebody said that you can't walk down the street without being on at least one camera, and I don't know if that's true. Most people aren't watching those cameras. Most police officers don't utilize, don't want to sit through hours and hours and hours of nothing to try to find a suspect. That's exactly how they work, and the chances of them actually, figuring out the whens and hows and, that means they have to pay somebody to watch that stuff. They don't watch it. They don't care. No, they don't care. They only care if they can prosecute or not. and everything else just gets dropped. If they don't think they can prosecute it, they drop it. That's something that I learned. And contrary to some people's belief, if you do something wrong, you still did the thing wrong. It doesn't matter if you got away with it. It doesn't matter if they didn't prosecute you, even if you did get caught. And it doesn't matter if you didn't spend any time in jail. None of that matters. Still wrong. Still wrong. Still did harm. But like I said, utilizing that story, I think it kind of gives you an idea of like how I can't tell you whether doing that shaped my life or shaped how I perceived, or it is the reason because of that happening to me is the reason why I don't like talking on cell phones. I don't like. Maybe it is because that there is a recording. That's why I don't like texting. Somebody's like, "Oh, just delete the text," and it's like going, if I sent it to somebody, nothing's going to stop them from deleting it, nor is nothing's going to stop them from passing it on. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I really like in person, because you can only react to the person in person. It's not going to be saved. It's not going to be recorded. And the next time I talk to even them and that story comes up, it's going to be different. It's all based on how I tell stories based on how I'm feeling. It's storytelling, and one of the big things that happened is that being on the phone with these people sometimes for hours, and some of these I think it was $6, $6.95, maybe $7 a minute. And some of these people talked on the phone with me for hours, not just an hour. I've had 4-hour phone calls with people, doing tarot readings and all this mumbo jumbo. And some points I'm just like, I gotta get off this phone call. Yes, I'm making money, but I just gotta get out of here. And I used to think sometimes, because going where I was working in Orlando, I rented a 3-bedroom house that all expenses paid by me. And I sometimes make it seem like the famous place that I was working at in Orlando was what afforded me to have this place. And the truth is that can't be farther from the truth. When I did work for this place as a character, and when I did do that, I was hemorrhaging my savings. The nail in the coffin was somebody broke into my house and stole my comic books. And it was less than a week after I just got my comic book collection appraised. I was going to sell my comic books. I was willing. The reason I got my comic books appraised was not because I was looking for to make millions and millions of dollars. I was going on the value of what I could sell it at right at that moment. And I was gathering, that person wasn't the only appraiser that I had looking at my comic books. And there definitely were comic books that they wanted to buy, which I noticed that if I did, it was one of the reasons why I was trying to get a second opinion. And before I could get the second opinion, for what the value of my comic book collection. Somebody broke in, actually stole the entire safe that I had the comic books in, and yeah, and pretty much destroyed the rental property that I had. And I had to basically move out of that place and find another one. But yeah, doing the psychic thing was big learning experience. It is well, not the reason that I don't believe in God. It was more of a, confirmed my feelings towards the matter. And because that, what a scam. What an absolute scam Christianity was for me. And I fell for that hook, line, and sinker. And I like to think that it's the only con that I have fallen for. Definitely was the one that I had the most devotion to, and I wanted it to be, I wanted, I was a Roman Catholic. I wanted, being a Roman Catholic to be the way towards salvation. And it would have taken, it would definitely would have taken more than a shaking of my faith to get to where I am right now. And so I don't think scamming people was even a part of it, even though everything seemed to happen together. But yeah, so those are the types of stories that I want to be telling. I, looking over, it's probably still hidden, so there's probably no chat for you guys to see, and so because nobody came to visit me, which is fine. An hour is a good place to be, and a great place to stop. And I hope you enjoyed the story. I definitely wanted to do more, and it is, as you can see, very awkward. And the feedback would be much appreciated if people could say whether you can say, well, I believe you, or you're full of shit. I don't care which way you go. But if you have any, actual constructive criticism about how to improve it, or things that you liked about me telling stories like that, I would that would be, for me, that's worth its weight in gold. It's something that because I'd like to continue doing this. I don't know if I need somebody to either collab with, to do these stories with, so that I can have like a one-on-one conversation. And I don't even know how that would even work. Yeah, I don't know how logistically, and who the hell would want to be my fall guy when they're probably bigger named, and they probably have a direction that they want, their agenda, like we talked about before about agendas. Their agenda is not going to match up with mine, and I am, I would be very, very, very demanding of their time, and that's not fair to them. And and it would be unfair of me to ask it of somebody else, even somebody who's not a YouTuber. It would be very unfair of me to ask to spend their time as that. But I don't know, and I don't even know if it would work, because if it didn't work, I'd have to basically change gears again. But yeah, that's how the storytelling is going to go. It's like I said, you know, to reiterate, the disclaimer differently, but basically in the same vein. I, unlike some news organizations, Fox, or some of the very far right leaning bias newscasts. Um, I am I am telling you that I'm doing this for the entertainment. I'm 100% entertainment. This is all fiction. Um, there is, I could actually just say that there's nothing inherently true about anything that I just said before, because that could be a lie. And when you think about everything that I'm saying being a lie, then does that mean that some of the things could be true? And if some of the things are true, then this lie, it can't be all things. Yeah. I messed it up. Um, this is take two, so let's take two on that. By me saying everything that I say is a lie, would mean that what I'm saying about everything being a lie is a lie. So does that mean that everything that I say is true? Well, that can't hold water either, because if everything I said is the absolute truth, then me saying that everything is a lie would have to be a lie. So it's somewhere in the middle or not. It is what it. This isn't about whether it's true or not, and it's about whether you believe. And if you believe the story, or if you believe this disclaimer, I'd like to hear about it. I'd like to hear how, if you got lost in the story and you didn't know what the hell I was talking about, you didn't even know when the story actually began, because the story actually began in the middle of the disclaimer. So if you didn't even realize that happened, those are things that might want to correct, or if you want me to continue to do that, because I don't want, whether you believe that the story is true or not doesn't make a difference. What I don't want to do is, I don't want to insult your intelligence. I don't want to belittle your feelings in thinking that, oh, well, I believed what Sean said, and what he told me was a complete lie. Or I believe that Sean was just completely lying, and why would I pay attention to something that's a lie? And it turns out that it's true, or it turns out that it's false. It doesn't, to me, that the actual reality of the story does not matter. What does matter is how you felt with the story. And if the disclaimer succeeded, I would like to hear that, Sean, your disclaimer succeeded. I didn't believe a damn thing you said. Or I would say that, I don't know why you're putting this disclaimer in when, obviously everything that you said actually happened. Those things do happen, Sean. This is how that works. Either way, it's fine. But like I said, I'm now almost 10 minutes past the hour mark, and I definitely think that an hour is good. Half hour first, an hour next. Who knows how long these streams are going to go? But I definitely want to know if, especially my subscribers, my family, definitely want to know if my family thinks that I should continue to tell stories. And with that, I'm just going to do a cool beans. You guys have a wonderful night. All right, take care.